Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to delve into one of the most shocking criminal cases in Canada over the past 15 years. The central figure in this tragedy is Jennifer Pan, a young Vietnamese-Canadian woman who, despite her innocent appearance, harbored dark secrets. Join us on Crime Documentary Files as we explore today's case to uncover what drove this young woman to make the most horrifying decision of her life. On November 8, 2010, in a residential area of Toronto, Canada, the community was suddenly shaken by chaotic sounds coming from the home of Phan Han Hai and his wife, Phan Bich Ha, a couple who had immigrated from Vietnam as political refugees. The piercing screams shattered the quiet night, mingled with cries of agony, desperate pleas for help, and most chillingly, the sound of gunfire, all combining into a terrifying cacophony. As the neighbors looked outside, they saw a man staggering out of the house covered in blood. He was trying to say something, but could only manage incoherent sounds before collapsing unconscious in the street. The neighbors immediately called the police to report the incident. After receiving the distress call, the police quickly arrived at the scene. Upon arrival, they identified the unconscious man as Phan Han Hui, also known as Mr. Pan, the owner of the house where the tragedy had just occurred. A preliminary examination revealed that he had suffered severe injuries, including gunshot wounds to his eye socket and shoulder, and was in a coma due to significant blood loss. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, the police immediately entered Mr. Pan's home to investigate further. They were horrified to discover his wife, Phan Bich Ha, lying lifeless on the basement floor, having been brutally shot 3 times in the head. Additionally, the police found their eldest daughter, Jennifer Pan, with her hands tied behind her back, secured to the second-floor staircase railing. She was still clutching her phone, which remained connected to the 911 dispatcher. Upon learning that her mother had passed away and her father was critically injured and unlikely to survive, Jennifer broke down in anguished sobs. After thoroughly searching the house and surrounding area, the police took Jennifer to the station for questioning that very night. In the interrogation video, Jennifer claimed that a total of 3 unknown men had broken into her home late that evening. They took Jennifer hostage to threaten her parents, forcing them to reveal the location of their hard-earned savings. She recounted that the intruders then led her upstairs, tied her hands behind her back, and proceeded to attack her parents with a gun. The police questioned Jennifer extensively about the possible motives behind the attack, and she firmly insisted that the intruders were after money and valuables. However, as they examined the crime scene, the police began to grow suspicious. If the intruders were truly after wealth, as Jennifer claimed, why did they ignore valuable items like the Pan family's 2 cars, a Mercedes-Benz G-Class, and a Lexus ES 300, as well as other expensive belongings, such as the TV, computers, and even bundles of cash that were clearly visible in the house? Moreover, when investigating how the 3 intruders managed to enter the home, the police uncovered another point of suspicion. All the doors and locks showed no signs of forced entry. When the police questioned Jennifer about this suspicion, she recounted the events of that day as follows. It was a typical Monday evening, just like any other. After dinner, Mrs. Pan went to a dance class and returned home around 9:30 p.m. At that time, Jennifer was in her room on the 2nd floor, talking on the phone with a friend before going to bed, when she suddenly heard strange noises coming from downstairs. Upon checking, Jennifer discovered 3 unfamiliar black men, who appeared very aggressive, inside her house. Before she could react, one of the men immediately attacked her, causing her to fall to the ground, and then tied her up with shoelaces. According to Jennifer, the men then went from room to room searching for valuables. They took all the money in the house. Once they confirmed there was nothing left to steal, they headed downstairs. At that moment, she began to hear her mother's pleading cries, her father's angry shouts, and the intruders' harsh yelling. But then, suddenly, everything went silent, followed by the sound of multiple gunshots. Quickly, she retrieved her phone from her pocket and frantically called the police. At this point, the police had to tentatively accept the limited clues provided by Jennifer, as she was the only surviving victim available for questioning. Her father was in a coma in the hospital, and her mother had died at the scene. However, the police found the girl sitting in front of them to be both peculiar and fortunate. Despite the fact that the intruders could have easily harmed her, she remained unharmed. Indeed, the police had received a 911 call from Jennifer, but when they arrived, her hands were tied behind her back. So, what exactly did she do to make the intruders spare her life? And how was she able to use her phone to call the police while her hands were tied? With these unanswered questions, the police could only proceed by secretly placing Jennifer under surveillance to monitor her every move. 4 days had passed since the incident when Mr. Pan miraculously woke up from his coma. This was incredibly encouraging news for the police, as they now had another witness who could offer a new perspective on the case. However, Jennifer was the most anxious at this time. As expected, when the police questioned Mr. Pan, they uncovered some extremely valuable information. Mr. Pan revealed that he saw Jennifer speaking calmly and casually with one of the intruders. Moreover, he observed his daughter walking around with them inside the house without being tied up, contrary to how the police found her. However, he did not expose these suspicious behaviors of Jennifer on the night of the crime. On November 22nd, after gathering sufficient testimony from Mr. Pan, the police summoned Jennifer for another round of questioning. This time, however, she was interrogated as a suspect rather than merely a victim. During this interview, the police recounted the information provided by Mr. Pan. Immediately, Jennifer broke down in tears, appearing devastated, and repeatedly asked the police, "What has happened to me?" In the nearly 4-hour-long interview, the police asked her to demonstrate how she could retrieve a phone from her back pocket to make a call while her hands were tied behind her back. Unfortunately, she was unable to do so. Using their experience, the police quickly got her to admit that she was directly involved with the intruders. However, she continued to lie without any solid basis. Jennifer gave evasive answers throughout the session, explaining that she did know the 3 assailants, but claimed that her intention in contacting them was to stage a fake crime scene so that she could end her own life due to conflicts with her parents. Jennifer further explained that shortly before the incident, she had resolved her conflicts with her parents and had agreed to stop cooperating with the intruders. Therefore, she claimed not to understand why they still carried out the break-in, and instead of killing her, chose to kill her parents. Since Jennifer's statements were still not convincing, and the police could not overlook the suspicions surrounding her, they decided to arrest her immediately for her direct involvement in the crime. As they dug deeper into Jennifer's family background, the police uncovered additional critical information that aided their investigation. Phan Han Hai was a Vietnamese Chinese man, born and raised in Vietnam, while Phan Bich Ha was a native Vietnamese woman. The couple met and married after moving to Canada in 1979 as political refugees. In Canada, they quickly secured jobs at an auto parts manufacturing plant in Ontario. After years of living frugally, in 2004, the couple purchased a spacious home in Toronto, in a neighborhood with a significant Asian population. Their lives seemed prosperous and fulfilling as they went on to buy 2 luxury cars for transportation. Additionally, they had saved over 200,000 Canadian dollars. Having worked hard in the past, the couple agreed to raise their children with strict discipline and set high expectations, hoping their children would achieve things they themselves never had the opportunity to do. The Pan parents enrolled Jennifer in piano lessons at the age of 4 and had her practice figure skating nearly every day of the week. They hoped she would become an Olympic figure skating champion, but those dreams were dashed when she tore a knee ligament during an intense training session. When Jennifer entered middle school, she was a tall, relatively attractive girl who got along well with her classmates. She was also a member of the school's flute band. However, over time, Mr. and Mrs. Pan's overbearing attention became so intense that all of Jennifer's classmates and even others in the school knew that she had tiger parents, a term for parents who were so controlling that they allowed their children no personal time or space. According to one of Jennifer's high school friends, her parents were so strict that while most of her peers were already commuting to school on their own, either her mother or father would always pick her up after school and then take her to extra classes or extracurricular activities. While other friends were beginning to explore and enter teenage relationships, Jennifer's parents strictly forbade her from having a boyfriend. Their concern was so extreme that no one ever saw Jennifer at any parties during her school years, not even after she graduated from high school. With all that Jennifer's parents believed to be expressions of their care, they naturally expected Jennifer to maintain excellent academic performance. However, academic success also requires ability, and Jennifer only showed a natural talent in music. Her performance in other subjects was average at best. For Jennifer, these academic results were acceptable, but she knew her parents would not agree. So, from her early years in high school, she began forging report cards to deceive her parents, consistently presenting them with a record full of A's that made them proud. When it came time to apply to universities in Canada, Jennifer had to submit an application that included her transcript to prove her academic achievements, along with several essays for the schools she wished to attend. However, Jennifer's application was rejected by the university she applied to because she had failed calculus during a crucial semester, making her ineligible for admission. Upon realizing she had lost her chance to attend university, Jennifer felt a mix of disappointment in herself and fear of what her parents would do if they discovered the truth. She was certain they would be furious, likely forcing her to study to the point of exhaustion, or worse, disowning her and kicking her out of the house. After careful consideration, Jennifer made a bold decision. She lied to her parents, telling them that she would be starting university in the fall. She painted a perfect picture of her future, claiming she would spend the first 2 years at university and then specialize in pharmacy for the next 2 years. When the time came to start school, Jennifer would leave the house every day with a backpack full of materials. Instead of going to university, she went to public libraries equipped with internet-connected computers. For 2 years, she maintained the illusion of being a diligent student, leaving early and returning late. She further convinced her parents by showing them old textbooks she had bought from university students and notebooks filled with lecture notes she had copied from the internet. In addition to these activities, Jennifer sought out part-time work, including serving at a coffee shop and working as a piano tutor, a job she truly enjoyed. Mr. and Mrs. Pan seemed very pleased with their daughter's academic and work efforts. They were so impressed that they even bought Jennifer a laptop to help her with her studies. Although Mr. Pan occasionally asked Jennifer about her studies, Mrs. Pan seemed to have complete faith in her. She even told Mr. Pan that he shouldn't interfere and should let Jennifer be herself. After completing the first 2 years of her supposed university education, Jennifer moved on to the next phase of her deception. She told her parents that the school had approved her for a student loan and even claimed that she had won a $3,000 scholarship for the next 2 years of specialized pharmacy studies. This also meant, according to Jennifer, that she would have to move to downtown, where she said she would be living with a female friend. In reality, she was planning to live with her boyfriend, Daniel Wong, and his family. Daniel and Jennifer had met and started dating while they were still in high school, both participating in the school band. Their relationship began when Daniel once saved Jennifer during an asthma attack triggered by cigarette smoke. However, due to her parents' strict control and prohibitions, Jennifer never dared to openly express her love for Daniel. Their entire relationship was carried out in secret. During the last 2 years of her fake education, Jennifer fabricated a story that she was volunteering at a hospital near her school. However, her parents noticed something suspicious. They had never seen her uniform or name badge. The very next day, they told Jennifer that they would drive her to work. Jennifer tried to remain calm, but when the car stopped in front of the hospital, she quickly ran into the emergency room and hid there for several hours until she saw her parents leave. At this point, Mr. Pan began to piece things together. They contacted the friend who was supposedly living with Jennifer, and what they learned was shocking. Unaware of Jennifer's lies to her parents, this friend revealed the entire truth. Jennifer had never graduated from high school because she failed calculus, and she was currently living with someone else. After discovering the truth, Mr. Pan was so furious that he wanted to disown Jennifer. However, Mrs. Pan, out of love for their daughter, pleaded with her husband to let Jennifer stay. Mr. Pan eventually agreed, but with conditions, They would confiscate all of Jennifer's phones, computers, and other communication devices, allowing her to use them only for a limited time and under their supervision. Additionally, they forbade her from seeing Daniel, and she was only allowed to go out for her piano teaching sessions. At this point, Jennifer was essentially under house arrest. Unable to endure her parents' restrictions, Jennifer and Daniel broke up. Not long after, Daniel quickly moved on and started a relationship with another girl. This drove Jennifer into a jealous rage and left her devastated. In response, she fabricated a story, claiming that Daniel's new girlfriend had hired people to attack and gang rape her. However, this was soon exposed as a lie. In early 2010, Jennifer reconnected with an old friend from elementary school named Andrew Montemayor. When questioned by the police, Jennifer stated that when she met Andrew again, he told her about how he had robbed someone in a nearby park. However, Andrew later denied this in court. Jennifer also recounted that when she confided in Andrew about the strained relationship with her parents, it was Andrew who intensified her desire to make them disappear. Andrew allegedly said that sometimes he wished his own father would just disappear, which fueled Jennifer's imagination about a future where both her parents were gone. Exploiting Jennifer's mindset, Andrew introduced her to a man named Ricardo Duncan, telling her that he was someone she could trust to help achieve her goal. However, Jennifer claimed that after she gave Ricardo $1,500 Canadian, he completely vanished. During his interrogation, Ricardo stated that there was no exchange of $1,500 Canadian between him and Jennifer. Rather, it was only $200 Canadian. However, he returned the money to Jennifer after she terrified him with a phone call filled with screams demanding, "You have to kill her parents immediately." According to the police, it was around this time that Daniel and Jennifer reconnected, began texting flirtatiously, and devised a new sinister plan. They would hire a hitman to kill Mr. and Mrs. Pan, take their $500,000 Canadian estate, and live together without anyone to stand in their way. Daniel then introduced Jennifer to a man named Lenford Crawford. Daniel gave her a SIM card and an iPhone so she could contact Crawford without using her regular mobile phone. When Jennifer asked how much it would cost to carry out a contract killing, Crawford told her that he typically charged $20,000 Canadian, but since she was a friend of Daniel's, he would give her a discount and do it for $10,000 Canadian. After agreeing on the price, Jennifer carefully used the iPhone that Daniel provided for conversations related to the plan to kill her parents, while using her usual Samsung phone for everything else. On Halloween night, Crawford visited the area around Jennifer's house to survey the location for the murder plan. The streets were brightly decorated, and many children were out in costumes, playing and trick-or-treating, which helped him avoid drawing attention. A few days later, Jennifer finalized the details with Crawford and set November 8th as the date for executing the plan to kill her parents. On the agreed-upon day, before going to bed, Jennifer deliberately unlocked the front door so Crawford and his accomplices could easily enter the house. After entering Mr. and Mrs. Pan's bedroom, the couple had no time to resist. They could only follow the intruder's orders and beg them not to harm Jennifer. When Mrs. Pan pleaded for her daughter's safety, one of the men replied, "Don't worry, she's a good person, and she'll be safe." What happened next unfolded just as described earlier. Mrs. Pan was shot 3 times in the head and died, while Mr. Pan was more fortunate, surviving the horrific ordeal. During the investigation, the police arrested Jennifer and all those involved. They also interviewed Jennifer's younger brother, Felix, to gather more information. From what Felix shared, the police were once again disheartened by the reasons behind the Pan family's tragedy. Jennifer was not the only child subjected to their parents' strict control, but Felix seemed to have the resilience and strength to break free from their grip. In the end, due to Jennifer's actions, and with a psychological evaluation confirming her sound mental health, she was sentenced to 25 years in prison to pay for the crimes she committed. Later, in a written statement, Mr. Pan wrote a final sentence expressing his hope that his daughter would reflect on what had happened and that she might eventually become a kind and good person. Not long after, Felix moved far away, hoping to live the rest of his life in peace without being recognized as the brother of a murderer. On April 10, 2024, Jennifer Pan's story was fully recounted in a Netflix documentary titled Watch Jennifer Did. The film quickly reached the top spot globally, reflecting the immense public interest in the details of this case. In this story, although Jennifer Pan was indeed the mastermind behind the plot to kill her own parents, from another perspective, she was also a victim of her parents' strict upbringing. In truth, Mr. and Mrs. Pan bear some responsibility for Jennifer's actions, as their harsh parenting contributed to driving her to such a desperate point in her life. This story serves as a reminder of the importance of balance in family education. It's not wrong for parents to have high expectations for their children, but those expectations must be paired with understanding, love, and the space for children to develop their own lives. And that concludes today's story. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more gripping cases. See you in the next video.